Hi, this is Yuan from Ganister. This is the second video about low code, so where we're writing some code to explain how we can push the limits of the configuration to really fit your PLM implementation to your exact needs in your company. So in this second video, the first video was about just creating numbering for marketing documents. So it was a method triggered by the onBeforeCreate event on a node. This time we will create some nodes and relationships based on triggers. So the first case is when you update a node. If there is a specific data that has been changed, and for example, you want to make sure that it is tracked when a specific data is changed. So when this happens, we will create an attached node or related node called note to see that things have been changed. So the first thing we want to look at. So first, I need to log in as an admin. The first thing we want to look at is this node type, which doesn't exist by default. So we're going to create this. So I go in the data model, and we'll do this on software, for example. So let's say we want to create a node, which doesn't exist here. So there's one feature in gconfig where you can create a relationship and a related node at the same time. So we do right click or you can hold click and create related node type. So it creates the relationship and the target node type. So create this. The relationship name will be software nodes. Semantic has node, for example, and related node type would be node. So, and the cardinality here, we want to make sure that each node is only used by one software. A software can have multiple nodes, but each node is really made for this software. So it's going to be a cardinality of 1 to n. And we want to create a tab at the same time. So we'll create a tab called notes. And you can create and delete. So that's the specificity of 1 to n, is that you can't attach existing nodes. So that will make sure that every node is only used by one software. Okay, so we create this. It creates the content, so you will see the change here. So in the demo, we won't change the logo. I haven't downloaded a logo for it. But if we look at software, you can see that in tabs, we now have this. So we'll fix the translation. It is linked to the right node. A node will only be just a description or a message, like we'll write message on the nodes, and we don't want the node to have a form, so we'll disable the form. So you will always edit the node in the grid related to the software. So then if we want to display this, so let's say that on the node we also want to display the date of creation and who created it. Created by name. Okay, node message. Okay, so now because the node will only be seen in a relationship tab, we have to go here on the relationship and say we want to copy the information that is displayed on a node. So it's going to be message created by name. So if we go back to here to the client, we can close all these, look for software. So if you haven't seen this, you can either go here to find a specific node type, or you can right click here and say software. It's a bit faster. So if I open this, you have the software form and you have this new node tab. So if I lock this, I can create this. Here you can't change the message. So I forgot to make this editable. So I can go here and say editable true. So now we have set this up. So you can go on nodes and I don't know, change of value node 2. So this is just the configuration part. If we want now to add some logic that if we change, for example, let's say we change the repository, it has to create a node when you update this. Okay, so if I say 3W, when I leave this field, it creates an update, and it should create a node here that this value has changed. If I change something else, then it won't create a node. So let's remove these nodes. And so we'll go to here. We create a method. So create node on repo change. And here the method will be triggered on before save. All right. So the first thing we want to see is we want to retrieve the data before it is saved. And so we have the update that is coming in the node provided to the method is the node with the updated information, which will be saved in the database. So we have this, but at the same time, we need to fetch the information that was valid before we are starting this update. So the first thing we do is, we need to retrieve the user, because in many queries you need the user from the data, and we want to retrieve the information from the former properties values of the node. So we can say actual node, which is the one that is still valid in the database, and we say await data service. Data service is our class used to retrieve data. So it works with nodes and relationships. So in this case, we have data service.find, and we will find data. Data is our actual node. So what it will do is it's just going to take the type and the ID from the data and retrieve it in actual node. So it finds the one that is saved in the database. So then we can test if actual node dot properties dot and I haven't checked if, let me open a new, I need to check how repository is. So this is repository URL. So let's say repository URL. If this is different than data.properties.repository URL, then we want to create this node. All right. So, and we can do a first try without even creating data. We'll say data.properties.url equal changed. It doesn't make sense, but it's just to test, to make a first test. And if this doesn't work, we will throw an error, which is Ganister error here. and this will be, I think, error message, and status code will be 500. Okay, let's save this and make a first test by attaching this method to the right trigger. So software trigger method, add method, we select create note on repo change. We want to say before update, and then we can go back to the client. So if I change this, let's see what it does. Cannot read properties often define reading. So let's get back here. I think we made a mistake. Where is it? Can create note repository URL data properties. So I guess this didn't find reading. Oh yeah, sure. This is because actual node, the result of this data service, it's going to be, if you want the node, it's going to be data. Okay, let's try again. Data, result data as it's null. Result data. Oh, yeah, so it worked. Yeah, so now we want to, well, the goal was not to change this because it's just replacing the value we had. The goal is to have notes instead, so to add a note. So what we will do is here, so when this happens, we don't want to replace by change, but we want to create a new note and attach it with a relationship. So to create a new node, we will say const new node, or new node equals await data service dot new, and then we need to provide the type, which is a note, and properties, in which we want to assign message, just saying repo changed from to, so from this, so let's say const old repo const new repo equal this, and so here we'll have old repo from this, from this to this. Okay, and we can add the user, and then await data service dot save new note. Okay, so here we've created the note. Now we need to attach it. So we say const new rel equals await data service dot new. The relationship, once again, I will get back to the data model. Relationship is software notes. So type equal software notes. properties, or we don't need to add any property in this case. The source is the actual node, so it's going to be data, and the target is the node we just created, so a new node. Okay, hopefully it makes sense. Then we need to save this relationship. So same as here, I can add this. Let's try this. So we save the method, we're going back here, and we say, so if we change anything else, will it throw an error? Unexpected token, so I guess this is fine, this is fine here. Let's try again. So if I say test A on the ref, it doesn't do any, it doesn't change anything. And now it works. So I've just changed this. So the value was changed before. So 111. So this is a simple example of how you can create data and impact the graph with a simple trigger, which here was before create. So on before create, we checked if the new data provided to update the node, here the software, is different than the former data. So we checked if repository is different than the old information. And if it is the case, then we create a node instance and attach it to the software. That's pretty easy once you understand how this data service works. And in the future, we may even make this simpler. We're looking into ways to make it always easier for non-JavaScript specialists or to write less code to do the same feature. So hopefully you get this. If you want the code, we'll try to see how we can, this is part of the templates that or the examples that we're providing. So if you go here and go to tech documentation, methods examples, you have some examples that you can pick some data from, but we'll try to add more and more examples with all the projects that we're running now. So let's wait for the next video, which will create pretty much the same data but based on a lifecycle trigger. So stay tuned for the next video and see you soon.